This video was brought to you by the ILC. Hi there, welcome to episode 5, Constructing a Linear Equation. In this episode, we'll learn how to construct our own linear equations from a word problem in a way that hopefully makes sense. Let's get started. So here's today's question. Kevin has already scored 350 points in basketball games this season. If he scores 25 points per game, find an equation that represents the number of points that he'll have scored in G games from now. Now, if we are going to construct a linear equation, there are 4 pieces to the puzzle. The y, the m, the x, and the b. So let's go over what all of those letters mean before we try putting any numbers in. The first part of the question is the dependent variable. That's y. I will circle that in black right now. Now, the dependent variable is what you are trying to represent. I'll write that down underneath it. So what we are trying to represent. So let's read through the question again and see what it wants us to represent. Let's read this again. If he scores 25 points per game, find an equation that represents the number of points that he'll have scored. So what we're trying to represent here is the points. And the question here says that the points is represented by the letter P. So instead of writing y, let's instead write P for our first term. Now we move on to the second term, the m, right here. Now, the m is called the rate of change, or you may have seen it called slope in the past. So what we need to answer for this is to figure out m. How is the number of points changing? Now, a good place to start is to look for the word per, or each, or every, or any sort of word in the passage that denotes change. So here is the word per, and the number next to it is 25. 25 points per game. So our slope, or rate of change, is 25. That's 2 down, 2 to go. Now we'll move on to the third part, the independent variable, x. I'll label that here. Independent variable. And the independent variable is what that change is based on. And usually that is the word after the per. That's right here. The word after per is the games. So the independent variable is the games. And in the last sentence of the problem, it says that games is represented by the letter G. So instead of writing x, let's write G. That takes us to our fourth variable, the b. Now, the b is just the initial value. And so let's look through the question and see if it mentions some kind of starting amount. Well, it says Kevin has already scored 350 points. So our initial number of points, our initial value, is 350. And so our linear equation is this. P equals 25 times G plus 350. All 4 of the pieces of the puzzle have been placed into the equation. And there you have it. Now we'll answer a second question using the linear equation we just got. It says to predict how many points Kevin will have scored 10 games from now. So that 10 has to go somewhere in the equation. Let's quickly remind ourselves what each letter means. P was the number of points scored, and G is the number of games he's played. Now the question says that it is 10 games, so instead of writing G, let's write 10 instead. The rest of the equation stays the same. It is P equals 25 times 10 plus 350. Now we just have to do some arithmetic. 25 times 10 is 250, plus the 350 we already have. 250 plus 350 gives us 600. And that is our final answer. So constructing linear equations may seem a little confusing at first, but remember, there are 4 pieces to the puzzle. Using the passage, figure out what those 4 pieces are, and place them all where they belong. After that, your work isn't quite as hard anymore. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next episode.